The night the alien princess knocked on the human boy's door, the universe had already decided to misbehave. He just didn't know it yet. In a rusted little repair shack on the edge of a half-terraformed moon, the human boy named Yalan by his mother, and Hey by most customers, was elbow-deep in a malfunctioning water regulator. If the regulator had a personality, it would have been described as deeply resentful, which made it a perfect resonant of Outpost K-23, where nothing worked unless you bribed it. And Yalan, being a human, solved most problems with the same formula he used for life. Curse it once, hit it twice, then talk to it like it. Hurt your feelings. He didn't bother looking up when something outside shook the walls of his shack. This moon had weather patterns that scientists described as statistically improbable, and everyone else described as angry. The wind howled. Dust raked the metal. The door banged hard enough that it rattled the bolt.jale inside. If that's the storm asking for a refund, it's not getting one. But the second knock wasn't from the storm. It was too deliberate, too soft, too scared. He wiped his hands on a rag that used to be white in a previous life, then tugged the door open. A girl stood there, except she wasn't a girl, not human anyway. Though her eyes flicked up with the same fearful hope he'd seen in Refugees and Strays and one very emotionally unstable cargo droid. Her hair shimmered like silver caught in moonlight. Her skin held a faint iridescent glow beneath soot and tears. And her clothes-ripped royal fabric suggested she'd been very important 5 hours ago and profoundly unlucky ever since. Aliens didn't usually come to K-23 unless they were lost, desperate, or exiled. She looked like a mix of all three. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling as if the cold had climbed into it. "I need shelter." Yalan stared at her, or rather, he stared at the disaster she embodied. He'd taken in strays before. A starved drifter, a kid who'd wandered from her caravan, a lizard-like creature convinced it was a cat. But royalty, that was new and dangerous. He said eloquently. "You sure you're at the right shack?" She glanced over her shoulder, as if expecting shadows to follow her. "I don't have anywhere else." There were 1,000 ways this could ruin his life, maybe even the next 5 lives, depending on how her species handled grudges. But she was shaking, frightened, and trying terribly hard to look brave. Humans were weak to that combination. "Yeah," Yalan muttered, stepping aside. "Fine. Get in before the wind decides to marry you." She blinked at him. Wind does not engage in rituals of it was a joke. He shut the door behind her. Mostly. She huddled near the heater coil, her hands delicate, clawless, elegant, hovering just above its warmth as though she wasn't sure she was allowed to enjoy it. Yalan tossed her an old jacket. She caught it awkwardly. "You can wear that," he said. "No offense, but your royal glitter outfit isn't built for K-23. She studied the jacket like it was made of ancient relics. "Is this safe?" "It's cloth, not a weapon." "In my culture, cloth can be a weapon." "Then it's only emotionally dangerous," he replied, "which is pretty standard for my laundry." And there the tiny sound he didn't expect, a soft, shocked laugh, barely a breath, but real. He felt unreasonably triumphant. Humans were weak to that combination. "Yeah," Yalan muttered, stepping aside. Fine. Get in before the wind decides to marry you." She blinked at him. Wind does not engage in rituals of it was a joke. He shut the door behind her. Mostly she huddled near the heater coil, her hands delicate, clawless, elegant, hovering just above its warmth as though she wasn't sure she was allowed to enjoy it. Yalan tossed her an old jacket. She caught it awkwardly. "You can wear that," he said. "No offense, but your royal glitter outfit isn't built for K-23. She studied the jacket like it was made of ancient relics. "Is this safe?" "It's cloth, not a weapon." "In my culture, cloth can be a weapon." "Then it's only emotionally dangerous," he replied, "which is pretty standard for my laundry." And there the tiny sound he didn't expect, a soft, shocked laugh, barely a breath but real. He felt unreasonably triumphant. Humans lived for that reaction. The galaxy called it emotional chaos. Humans called it compassion with extra steps. He looked at her more carefully. She wasn't just scared. She was exhausted, running on fading adrenaline and stubbornness. Her silver irises flickered, like flames dimming. "So," he said, "you gonna tell me what happened, or do I have to guess?" "I warn you, my guessing track record is 50-50. She hesitated. "If I tell you, you may wish I had stayed outside." "That bad?" He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Try me." She took a slow breath. "My name is Lysaria, daughter of the Aurelian sovereignty." He whistled. "Royalty. Then, that explains the fancy shirt, also the total terror." 3 hours ago," she continued, gripping the jacket tighter, "our transport was ambushed. A political rival wanted everyone with me, either taken or—" Her voice cracked. "Just once. I ran. I have no weapons, no escort, no beacon. I followed the distress beacon map until it failed. I saw your light, and I prayed." She swallowed. "I prayed humans were still humans." He didn't know what that meant at first, then he understood. She'd gambled her life on stereotype. Humans were unpredictable, sentimental and soft-hearted when it mattered. It was not the worst stereotype to have. "Well," Yalan said quietly, I'm sorry about your people really, but yeah, you landed on a human doorstep, so you get the chaos package. It includes sarcasm, warm food, and questionable decision-making. A faint smile tugged at her lips. That sounds dangerous. It is, he agreed, but also cozy. She blinked at the word. Cozy means safe, warm, something alive cares you're not dead. She stared at the heater again, as if the concept was physically manifesting. We don't have a word for that. In my culture, safety is transactional, warmth is regulated, and caring. She hesitated. Caring is ceremonial, restricted. Sounds exhausting, Yolan said simply. By morning, the storm had exhausted itself into silence. Like a wild creature that had screamed all night, then collapsed face first in the dirt. Pale sunlight leaked through the cracks in the repair shack. It illuminated drifting dust, a half-dismantled water regulator, and one alien princess wrapped like a cocoon in Jalen's old blanket, which, for the record, was never meant to be wrapped around royalty. She looked almost peaceful, almost, because she startled awake the second Yolan shifted in his chair. She sat up, disoriented, blinking like she'd forgotten how ceilings worked. Her silver hair fell messily around her face, catching the light in strange shimmering streaks. The blanket slipped off one shoulder. He looked away immediately, because humans were catastrophically bad at being normal in moments like this. Good morning, he said, trying for casual and landing somewhere between friendly and awkwardly respectful. She tilted her head. You remained awake the entire night. Yeah. He scratched the back of his neck. Didn't feel right sleeping while you were, I dunno, vulnerable. Also, you talked in your sleep. Her eyes widened in horror. What did I say? Something about blast the treaty and my hair is not a diplomatic weakness. She groaned and covered her face. That phrase followed me from childhood. Honestly, fair enough. Diplomats probably deserve it. She peeked between her fingers. Do humans tease royalty like this? Constantly. It's why we don't keep any. She blinked, processing, then laughed a soft, startled sound that made his chest tighten in an inconvenient way. He cleared his throat and motioned toward a makeshift cooking surface. I made breakfast, if you can call this breakfast. Don't worry, nothing here bites. She approached cautiously, examining the food as if it had diplomatic authority. Is this edible? Yes. Scientifically. Mostly. She took a bite, eyebrows lifting at the surprisingly decent taste. It's warm, she murmured, and comforting. That's the goal. She paused. We don't have food like this. In the sovereignty, meals are balanced for function, efficiency, nutrient optimization. That sounds miserable. It is. He smiled at her honesty. She didn't speak like royalty. She spoke like someone tasting rebellion and finding it delicious, you know. Yalan said as he tinkered with the regulator again. You never really explained why your people were targeted. She froze mid-bite. He instantly regretted asking. Sorry, too much. You don't have to. No. She set the food down gently. You deserve to know the danger you've taken on. He looked at her, really looked, the slight tremble in her hands, the tired certainty in her voice, the weight she carried like she wasn't sure her spine was meant to hold so many sorrows. I'm not keeping score, he said softly. You don't owe me anything. Her eyes flicked up in a way that made his heartbeat forget the rules, but she spoke anyway. The sovereignty has rival factions, cold, logical, relentless. Some believe emotions weaken our species. They want to reform governance, remove all leaders who display sentiment. That's a crime now. In some circles, she admitted. It's considered treason. He whistled. Yikes. My mother was sympathetic to humanitarian efforts. She believed our empire should support vulnerable worlds rather than exploit them. Lysari's voice shook, only slightly. Her rivals saw compassion as instability. He felt something hot and protective rise in him. Your mom sounds like someone I would have liked. Lysari's gaze softened painfully. Yes, you would have. He wanted to put a hand on her shoulder, but he didn't. Humans had instincts. Aliens had boundaries. An interspecies romance, spoken or unspoken, came with physics textbooks worth of etiquette warnings still. Something in her expression told him she wouldn't have pulled away. Before he could respond, a low alert blared from outside. Repetitive, unfriendly. Lysari stiffened. Search drones. Yours. No. Great. Wonderful. Exactly the kind of morning Yalone liked. Breakfast. Emotional vulnerability. And potential kidnapping. He peeked through the window slit. 3 dark drones skimmed low over the outpost, scanning the ground with thin beams. They looked like predatory beetles with bad intentions. Lysari stepped close for his nerves and whispered, if they detect sovereignty biometrics, they'll send ground troops. Yalon braced his hands on the windowsill. You can hide in the crawl space under the floor. She hesitated. No. If they find me, you will be punished for aiding me. Lysari, listen. He turned to her. I'm human. Punishment is like Tuesday. We survive worse on our days off. That isn't funny. It wasn't meant to be. Where it's just built badly. She stared at him with something complicated, fear, frustration, and a tenderness she didn't seem to know how to name. Why are you like this? She whispered. Why risk harm for me? He shrugged. Why not? That is not an answer. It's a human answer. We don't always think in reasons. Sometimes we just do the thing that feels right. Her expression was almost reverent. That is why the sovereignty fears you. Before he could ask what she meant, the drone's scan beam swept toward the shack. Jalen grabbed her hand. Warm, soft, alive. Come on, he whispered. Time to hide. He pulled open the floor panel. Lyseri dropped into the crawl space with surprising agility. She looked up at him in the dim half-light, silver hair glowing faintly. Yolon, she whispered. If they capture you, they won't, he said. I've lied to tax officers before. I can handle flying beetles. Her lips twitched. You're impossible, and yet you're still here. She hesitated, her fingers still curled around his dot, then dashed quietly, fiercely she said, "Be careful." Her grip lingered a heartbeat too long before she let go, disappearing into the shadows beneath the floor. Jalen closed the panel, straightened, and forced his breath steady. The door rattled as the drone landed outside. He cracked his knuckles like a man about to gamble with the universe and hoped, for once, that the universe felt merciful, or at least amused. The drones didn't knock. They never did. They simply sliced the door open with a clean, precise line of red heat, the kind of entry that said, "We don't do courtesy, we do compliance." When the metal panel clattered inward, Yalan raised his hands in theatrical surrender, hoping bravado counted as a survival tactic. 3 drones hovered in, projecting a holographic command seal. The lead machine's voice buzzed with artificial displeasure. "Unauthorized human, you occupy classified territory." He forced a grin. "Yeah, the real estate agent didn't mention that. Can I speak to your manager?" A pause. The drone scanned him again, re-evaluating him like he was a defective toaster. "Are you attempting humor?" Yalan shrugged. "Honestly, trying is half of human culture." The machine's tone flattened. "We are searching for a biological fugitive. Height, approximately 1.6. Species sovereignty-based. Humanoid, dangerous. Report sightings immediately." He widened his eyes for maximum innocence. "A dangerous girl, near me. Sir, I live alone with tools and sadness. I would have noticed." The drone rotated its lens toward the dismantled regulator on the table. "Your repairs are inefficient." "Wow," he muttered. "Even the murder drones are judgmental." Another sweep of red light skimmed the floorboards too close. Lyseri lay beneath his feet, probably holding her breath with the strength of 10 panicked diplomats. The drone hovered toward the crawlspace panel. Jalen's heart tripped over itself. "Area, it shows an unusual heat signature." The machine chirped. He coughed loudly and stepped forward. "Oh yeah, that's me. I spilled soup there yesterday. Human soup, very hot, painful experience. Please don't make me describe it." The drone angled its lens at him. "Explain human soup. It's emotional." Machines didn't blink, but this one clearly wanted to. Then something cracked outside like a rifle misfire. The drones instantly reshuffled. "Hostile activity detected." "Great," Yalan muttered. "The cavalry's early." Another burst of noise erupted from the hills. The drones lifted in formation and zipped out the broken doorway, beelining toward the source. As soon as their hum faded, Yalan dropped to his knees and opened the floor panel. Lyseri shot upward like someone breaking the surface of water. She gasped air, shaking, gripping the edge with trembling fingers. He reached for her instinctively. "You okay?" Her hands clutched his forearms as if grounding herself. "I thought they would find me." I thought. Her voice cracked, barely a sound. "You're safe." His voice softened. "Hey, you're safe." She tried to speak, failed, and instead pressed her forehead to his shoulder. Brief, desperate touch, gone almost instantly as she remembered decorum. But the contact lingered in his mind like a spark refusing to fade. "They were targeting you specifically," he added quietly, brushing dust from her sleeve. "Not your species, you." Lyseri swallowed hard. "Because I carry something they want. Something my mother entrusted to me before." Before she couldn't finish the sentence, Yalan didn't push. Silence wasn't avoidance between them, it was permission. Outside, the hills rumbled again, but softer now, like thunder imitating footsteps. Lyseri stiffened. "That is not a drone." "Okay," Yalan said. "Is this the part where we panic?" She shook her head. "No, this is worse. This is when we prepare." A shadow crept over the doorway, not mechanical, not humanoid. Something massive. Jale and reached for his shock baton, moderately effective on wildlife, mildly annoying to machines, and definitely laughable to anything larger than a refrigerator. The figure stepped in, massive, armored, shaped like a bipedal mountain with claws. Its voice rumbled through the shack. "Princess Lyseri of the Sovereignty," it growled. "We finally found you." Yalan stepped between them before his brain could veto the idea. A human against a war beast. Great odds. Lyseri touched his arm, firm but pleading. "Yalan, stop." The creature tilted its head. "You'll protect her." Unexpected. Yalan squared his shoulders. "Yeah, well, humans are full of bad decisions." "Indeed," it agreed, unimpressed. "Your species is known for dying creatively." Lyseri stepped forward, dignity sliding back onto her like a ceremonial cloak. "If you've come for the artifact, you will not find it." The beast snorted. "I have not come for your trinket. I have come to collect you." Yalan frowned. "Define collect." "Alive," the creature said. "Preferably." "Oh good. Love that preferably. Really comforting." Lyseri lifted her chin. "I will not be used as leverage. I will not cooperate with traitors. The beast blinked, slow and heavy. You misunderstand. I am not your enemy. Yolan blinked. Lyseri blinked. The whole room blinked metaphorically. The creature lowered itself to one knee, a thud that shook the shack. I served your mother, it said. She commanded me to find you, protect you, and deliver you to safe territory if the sovereignty fell. Words abandoned Lyseri. Her breath caught, shattered, reformed into something fragile. Jalen watched her expression crack open. Grief, disbelief, hope all colliding violently. Your mother, the beast continued, said you would seek shelter with unlikely allies. I assumed she meant diplomats, not. It looked Yalan up and down. This Yolan held up his hands. Excuse me, what does this mean? Lyseri's voice softened. He saved me, and he will need to keep doing so. The creature rumbled. They have dispatched hunters, elite units, not machines, not soldiers, specialists. Yolan groaned. I hate specialists. They are never friendly. They seek the princess, the creature said, and they will burn every settlement in their path. Lyseri stepped closer to Yolan, subtle but deliberate. Then we leave. Yalan repeated. Her eyes met his, bright and steady despite everything. You helped me without knowing who I was. You hid me without reason. You risked yourself without hesitation. She swallowed, voice trembling. I do not wish to leave you behind. Yalan felt something shift in his chest, heavy, warm, terrifying in the best way. Well, he said, I wasn't planning to let you go alone anyway. The beast stood, towering over both of them. Then gather what you need. We leave within the hour. Lyseri touched Jalen's hand just lightly, not enough to be scandalous, but enough to say everything she didn't dare voice. He closed his fingers around hers, not formally, not romantically, just humanly. Her voice almost broke when she whispered, thank you. And his answer came without hesitation, without thought, without logic, the most human thing he could possibly say, always. The escape didn't begin with a daring sprint or a heroic battle. It began with the three of them crammed into Jalen's painfully underpowered hovertruck, rattling, wheezing, and occasionally threatening to explode, crawling up a canyon road at the speed of a depressed shopping cart. Nothing says galactic destiny quite like an old farm vehicle screaming for retirement. The armored beast hunched in the back, trying not to demolish the roof with its horns. Yolan gripped the controls like a man determined to wrangle dignity out of embarrassment, and Lyseri sat beside him, posture straight and royal, despite the fact that the passenger seat cushion kept squeaking like a dying rodent every time they hit a bump. Is this normal human transportation? The beast growled from behind. Jalen sighed. No, this is the worst human transportation. Lyseri leaned closer, whispering just loud enough for Yolan to hear. I thought it was charming. Princess, the beast rumbled disapprovingly. It is a fire hazard on wheels. Yolan lifted a hand. Thank you. I built it myself. They bumped along in awkward silence for another kilometer until the scanner flared red. A blockade ahead, not machines. Soldiers, specialists, the worst kind, patient, disciplined, and morally flexible. Lyseri stiffened. They cannot see me. The beast cracked its knuckles. I can clear a path. No, Yolan said instantly. No pat. They'll mark us and send reinforcements. Lyseri frowned. Then what do we do? A beat of silence. Then a terrible idea sprouted in Jalen's mind, and with all the confidence of a man who'd never once learned from his mistakes. He embraced it. We're not fugitives, he said. We're travelers. As long as no one suspects who you are, we walk right through. Lyseri blinked. Yolan, they are hunting me specifically. Right, which means they are looking for a princess, and he grinned. Today, you're not a princess. The beast groaned. Human improvisation will be the death of us all. But there was no better plan. They parked behind an outcrop and dug through spare clothing and blankets. 10 frantic minutes later, Lyseri sat disguised in worn human clothes, hair tied back, royal posture hidden beneath a traveler's slouch, a blanket draped like a hood. She looked nothing like a princess. She looked ordinary, and it hurt Yolan far more than he expected. Lyseri caught his stare. What is it? Nothing, he said. Just feels wrong hiding who you are. She reached out and touched his wrist. A grounding touch, gentle, not royal. Let me stay alive first. Then I will be myself again. The beast wrapped itself in tops, passing as cargo, or at least something nobody wanted to ask about. And then it was time. Jalen walked toward the checkpoint with Lyseri at his side, close but not holding on to him. Close enough to communicate familiarity without attention. The specialist captain stepped forward, his eyes sharp, teeth showing the hint of a predatory smile. Human, he said. You travel with company, my girlfriend. Yolan replied instantly. Lyseri's inhale was silent, sharp, and impossible to miss. The captain looked her over. She is quiet. I talk too much for the both of us, Yolan chuckled, painfully casual. Lyseri squeezed his hand under the blanket, subtle enough to avoid notice, strong enough to tell him she was either touched or about to faint. The captain circled them with slow, suspicious steps. We've received reports of a fugitive sovereign female, small build, high value. Yalan shook his head. Buddy, I'm lucky she even tolerates me. If she were royalty, she wouldn't be with a guy like me. Lyseri whispered just loud enough for the captain to hear. He exaggerates. I tolerate him completely. The captain paused, thrown off by the dry delivery. Yolan almost laughed. She did sarcasm now. Human sarcasm. He was both proud and terrified. One last scan swept across them. Red light. Slow and merciless. The captain leaned close to Lyseri's hood. If someone were to be hiding the princess, what would they get in return? Lyseri didn't flinch. Someone who willingly hides a princess deserves her wrath. A moment of silence. Then the captain laughed, too loud, too delighted. Oh, I like her. Carry on, travelers. Yolan didn't breathe again until they were 20 meters past the checkpoint. When the road curved out of sight, he grabbed the steering controls again and floored the hovertruck. The beast threw off the top and exhaled like a volcano. You both handled that well, it admitted, especially you, princess. Lyseri's cheeks flushed gray-blue. Don't call me that. Not until we're safe. Yolan, still high on adrenaline, teased. So you didn't hate pretending to be my girlfriend? She swallowed. I did not. Hate it. You liked it, the beast announced bluntly. Lyseri nearly died of royal offense. I did not say that. You did not say that. You didn't need to, Yolan said, a soft grin forming. Your ears go all glowy when you get flustered. She clapped her hands over her ears. They do not. Yalan laughed, and the beast rumbled what might have been a chuckle. For a moment, exhaustion turned into warmth, fear into humor, survival into something dangerously close to belonging. Hours passed, the landscape shifting from occupied territory to quiet wilderness. No drones, no soldiers, no scanners. The beast declared it safe enough to stop. They built a small camp. Nothing extravagant, just heat, quiet, and breathing space. Lyseri sat beside Yolan near the fire, knees almost touching, eyes reflecting the flames. When this ends, when I reach safety, you know I cannot ask you to follow me. You won't have to ask, he said. Her breath caught. Yolan, I'm not leaving you, he said gently. Not for a throne, not for a war, not for whatever mess the universe throws next. Lyseri blinked, slowly, like she was afraid to break the moment. Humans, she whispered, you fall in love with no fear. He smiled softly. No, we fall in love with fear and do it anyway. The beast pretended not to listen, staring into the distance like the world's most uncomfortable chaperone. Lyseri rested her head lightly on Jalen's shoulder. Not a kiss, not a confession, but something real, steady, fragile, warm, and the HFY truth settled into the night like gravity. Humans don't conquer galaxies because they're strong. They conquer them because they care so fiercely it terrifies the universe. Lyseri's voice rose, half whisper, half vow. When I reclaim my home, the galaxy will learn what it means to have humans in the royal bloodline. Yolan froze. I'm sorry, the what now? She smiled far too innocently. You think you're done saving me? No, Yolan, you've only begun ruining the galactic order. He laughed, helpless, stunned, and wildly in love. She took his hand, not pretending, not hiding, not surviving. Choosing. The fire burned on, and for the first time in a long time, the universe stopped feeling cold.